Isaac is on.
Isaac's on. Isaac Thorne.
Hey guys,
What's up, dude?
That was an interesting intro there. I don't think I've ever come into music before.
I know. I was trying to be on, but I missed it. Oh, Isaac Thorne, how you been, brother?
I've been doing all right. I'm concentrating really hard trying to win the Powerball tomorrow since I didn't win the Mega Millions today.
Oh, you got it, dude. You got it. And we deserve a cut.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember,
Absolutely.
if you win,
it's.
I was gonna say if you win, you only won because you were on the Rob and Slim show the night
said
before.
You got it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're my good luck.
Yes. Isaac, how you doing? Are you working on a new book?
I am working on a novel. Last time we talked, I was telling you guys that I had written a chapter of a novel years ago and had never gone back to it.
Yes.
And after we talked last time, I sat down and went back to it. I've been pounding on it for about 6 weeks now, and I've almost got a first draft done. So,
Cool.
so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, you also said you were working on like other people's stuff. You were was it editing or something like that for other people?
Yeah, I was doing some editing. I got that out of the way, so I was ready to get back to my own stuff for a while.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say it's gotta make you itch to just go to your own stuff. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and when you're doing editing for somebody, you're reading their work, and you get to these scenes where you're like, well, I would have done this, or I would have done that, and you instead of editing, you kind of start to rewrite in your head, and the bug comes back. So
yeah, yes. What I was gonna ask you too, as a horror author and as a person, have you ever had any supernatural experience?
Supernatural, I did a piece for a horror therapy for Bleeding Critic a couple of years ago where I talked about a night when I was a kid that something happened, and I don't really think it was supernatural. I think it was probably other than this, I've never experienced anything like sleep paralysis, but I would guess that that's probably what this was. I mean, I was little. I was probably barely in school, and I remember waking up, and I was able to see a closet door, from where I was laying, and out of this closet door, this empty pair of blue jeans walked.
Wow.
And,
sounds like something out of a cartoon.
Exactly. And it would take a few steps, and then it would vanish, and then I would look back at the closet, and it'd walk out again, and it was just like repetitive over and over and over again.
Oh wow.
And and I think it was that same night that I actually literally saw a cartoon chipmunk standing in the room with me. Speaking of cartoons, so I don't know if I don't know if it was sleep paralysis or somebody had slipped something into my juice cup or what.
Yeah, you licked the Scooby-Doo stamp. I know how it was back then.
Right. Yeah.
I remember as a kid though. Yeah, I saw something like demonic looking, and I stayed up until sunrise, and it was a shadow from like a trophy on my wall. Like that's what it was.
My God. And that's when you're a kid, your imagination can run wild with you like that, especially in the dark.
Yes.
I mean, you see a pattern on curtains or on wallpaper or something, and it looks like a face, and and you can just you can spook yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember a kid, and I remember this very vividly, of seeing my cat, but like multiple versions of my cat, like 3 or 4 of my cat unrolling toilet paper really slowly and on a loop, and it made me sick, and I don't know why I remember that or why I saw that, but yeah, that's
it sounds like a great YouTube video.
Yeah. Just thinking about it, I feel dizzy and like sick.
So were these multiple versions simultaneously, or were you
Yes.
just seeing like this thing over and over again?
What were the versions?
It was
like,
like-
Eye Patch Cat and like.
No, well, I say versions, but it was all like the same cat. And I actually think he was moving like very quickly and just like unrolling this toilet paper, and I just
Smoking
remember.
Jacket Cat.
Yeah, smoking.
And
So you weren't seeing like Acid Cat. You know,
No,
where you see,
it was just like it was my same cat, but multiple times, and I just remember it being like bright. It
Bob
was like
Marley
the middle.
cats.
It was the middle of the day, and I like vividly remember seeing this and feeling sick.
wow.
That's
Slim's
exciting.
got
right?
issues. Wow. That's all I got
Well,
to say.
and then actually, my sister had a whole week where she was seeing shit. Like she would see like floating heads, and she would just start fucking screaming. Like she told us later she would see like 3 or 4 heads, and it turned out she had like 100.
100 heads?
100 degrees fever or whatever. Like it
yeah.
was bad. Yeah. I don't know.
People with urinary tract infections see weird shit like
Really?
that.
I've heard that. I've heard when elderly, when people get
Yeah.
almost like senile, they don't know they have one, and they see shit like that.
Yeah, and it's always something weird like that, like a floating head, disembodied head or something, and
Whoa.
you wonder why is your urinary tract tied to seeing floating heads?
Why does your pee
Why do
hole
you-
make you see that? Yeah.
Why is everybody seeing a floating head? What does that mean?
Without antibiotics, that's all you see. Give me some Cipro. I don't want to see this shit anymore.
We're
God.
really just surrounded by floating heads, and
That's
you
what it
only
is.
see them when
You
you
only
have a
see 'em
urinary tract infection.
When it burns. When
Yeah,
it
that's
burns.
it. The UTI opens the portal. Great floating head dimension.
Disqualified.
Show me what you got. Good job. Wow. I can't follow that. Isaac, what do you have planned for Halloween?
Halloween, I'm going to try to marathon all the previous Halloween movies, and then take a bunch of people out to see the new one.
Nice. I was going to ask if you saw the new one yet.
I have not seen it yet. I was so close to going on Sunday, and then I kind of decided, I don't want that preview. I'd been planning to take people to go see it on Halloween, and I didn't want the preview of it. I want the experience, with the crowd. So
Yeah. I love it.
So I don't
decided
know
to-
if this is a spoiler for you, but you said you're going to marathon all the movies. You know this is only a sequel to the first movie, right?
Ooh.
yeah, the marathon is more of a celebration.
Ah, okay.
Michael is
Yeah,
my favorite of horror creatures because he could happen. He could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that always bothered me about the sequels from 4 onward is in part 2 he and Loomis explode. And he walks out, in flames, and how do you and he's been shot in both eyes. So, how do you come back from that for 4? And they never really bothered to explain that. So I was actually glad that this one, is retconning everything from the moment he goes over the balcony.
Okay. Because I've never seen, I've seen the original. I saw the one they made like in the early 2000s, and I've seen the one Rob Zombie. I've never seen any of the others.
I don't really care for the Rob Zombie remakes. I know a lot of people like the first one.
I love the first
second
one. I never saw the
Yeah,
second
the
because I
second-
heard it had a bad rap.
Yeah, the second one's kind of panned, but my big problem with the first one was the backstory focus on Michael. I liked the mystery.
Oh, see, I love
Oh,
seeing
Michael
what
Myers.
made him that
Right.
sociopath
that's-
that he was.
Yeah, that's the difference. I mean, there you have the people who enjoy sympathizing with Michael.
Yeah.
From Rob Zombie version, and then there's the people like me who don't really want to sympathize with him. They want the monster.
Yeah.
Wholly. So
I kind of felt the same way about, was it Rob Zombie who did the Freddy one too, the Nightmare on Elm Street? Did he do?
No, I don't think he did that, but I love the Freddy.
I don't know. I feel the same way that Isaac feels because they gave him a backstory and went deeper into the character. And I like just him being a monster.
Wow. See, I loved it. I loved you seeing that he was a creep. He was a fucking pedophile, and they burned him alive. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, well, and at least you didn't sympathize with Freddy.
No. I was like, I want to fucking burn this guy. I want to be in that burning Freddy group. I also have a story. I don't know if you're a taker, Isaac, but I feel this could go anywhere. I feel like there's a guy named Slim who has a roommate who watches him work out.
I knew that was gonna get brought up at some point.
And his name might be like Sleepy Lucas. I don't know. It could be. You could change the name, but
I hope he's not on break at work and watching this.
I was watching you, Slim.
You do a great Sleepy Lucas impression.
He does.
By the way.
It was very odd, Isaac. I was working out with my cousin. We were doing P90X
last week, right?
Yeah, it was like an hour-long workout. Doing what did we do? I forget what day it was. It might have been like chest and back. And he was just standing in the corner, just watching us the entire time.
Oh, it wasn't on the couch.
He was standing right here, right in front of his door, just not watching the TV, like watching us. And I'm just like trying to ignore that he's there.
I would have shook my ass.
After he left, like my cousin didn't bring it up, so I was like, all right, I guess it's no big deal, like whatever. And then the next day, we're working out, and my cousin goes, "Hey, where's Lucas?" And I was like, "He's working," and he's like, "Why was he just watching us?"
I was gonna say, why isn't he? I like when he watches. I
don't like. I don't know,
do
dude.
it a little harder when he watches.
But then like later in the week, like me and Sleepy Lucas we are friends. We went out for lunch, and he did.
Why don't you work out?
He did express interest in trying P90X.
So
maybe he was watching to kind of understand.
Watching to jerk off, to watch, to understand, to work out. We get it, Sleepy Lucas. You're complex.
I can understand the creep factor there, though. I can understand that.
Very weird. Yeah, you don't want somebody just watching you while you're working.
It's socially wrong.
That happened to me in a hotel gym once. I run, and when I'm traveling, I use the treadmills in the hotel fitness centers, and I was running on this one, and there was a mirror in front of me so I could see what was behind me.
Yes.
And I happened to look up in this mirror at one point, and there was this woman standing outside the door. It was a glass door, standing outside the door just watching me run. And I was looking at her, she was looking at me, and it just went on and on and on. And, I didn't know whether to stop and leave, or what do you do?
Right?
You wave or
go fast.
You just ignore that she's watching and just keep doing what you're doing. Yep, this isn't happening. That's what I did. This isn't real, it's just a dream.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Isaac, could you read us something?
Absolutely. I thought that I might read from Nobody Was Here tonight. This was the pretty much the story that started it all for me. I wrote it and put it out there 5 years ago, and this was the beginning of everything. So if you guys want to hear it, I'll read from that one.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Whenever you're ready. I'm hitting the mics right now.
All right. Nobody was here. He'd never had to pee so bad in his life. The whoosh bang of the heavy steel door when it struck the tile-covered back wall of the men's room exploded like a shotgun report in his ears. He'd shoved it hard. In its wake came wafts of urine, feces, and a mixture of various types of room deodorizers. Something else hung there, too. A sweeter chemical smell that left a foul taste in the back of his throat. Mold and mildew remover? He decided that he didn't care. He grabbed at the front of his pants and had one panicked moment when he couldn't find the zipper slider. Then the familiar little metal rectangle fell between the thumb and index finger of his right hand. He held his breath and yanked on it, snatching his zipper down with too much force. It made a smallish rip sound when he hit bottom. Most likely he had torn a stitch in the crotch of his threadbare Dockers. He decided that he didn't care about that either. A second later, he completed the launch sequence, narrowly avoiding a drizzle down his own leg. 8 ounces of coffee and 16 ounces of bottled water ripped out of him like a water jet from the end of a fire hose. He wanted to scream, and nearly did, but the pain of the explosive exit had already subsided by the time the first drops hit the porcelain back of the urinal. The sound of his waterfall reverberated throughout the restroom. It filled his ears, drowning the mellow and tinkling strains of Robert Plant's Ship of Fools, which happened to be playing at an equally mellow volume through the little circle-shaped speakers that were embedded in the ceiling throughout the fast food restaurant that called itself Big Burger. Reed leaned his head backward, resting the back of his skull at the tips of his shoulder blades. He shivered. He sucked a long drag of the restroom air into his lungs and then let it out in a series of 3 abrupt coughs, choking again on that strangely sweet chemical aroma. Then he opened his eyes and glared at the ceiling. Damn them, he thought. Damn them and their damn bellies. He had wanted to stop an hour previous, when the pressure on his bladder had been urgent but tolerable. They, his lovely wife Rita and her spoiled brat Chase, had put up a fight about it. I'm hungry, the kid had squalled mercilessly from among the trash pile of candy bar wrappers and soda cans he had assembled around himself in the back seat. It was a pile that, Reed admitted to himself, was mostly because of his own bad influence over the boy. But only because Rita insisted on taking these long cross-country hauls to the Gulf every year instead of buying a plane ticket. I want to eat, Chase squealed. Meanwhile, Reed's sweet, understanding spouse bored holes in his skull from her place in the Trailblazer's shotgun seat. She had sensed their drift toward the upcoming exit ramp. Don't you dare stop here when our baby needs food, her eyes chastised him. I will not allow him to eat out of a vending machine again. I have to pee, dear, Reed explained. Did he sound defensive? Maybe, and that bothered him. What man never has to pee? He struggled to not sound irritated as well. Really bad. Rita craned her neck so that she could see Chase, who sat directly behind the driver's seat. Daddy needs to go to the bathroom, sweetie, she said in that same sugary baby talk voice she'd used since the lad was born, the one that Reed had asked her to stop using 1,000,000 times. He's 9, for God's sake. He's not a baby. After Daddy uses the bathroom, we can go find a nice restaurant somewhere, she continued. You don't need another candy bar. In Reed's rearview mirror, Chase's lips contracted into a tight little bow. His eyes narrowed, his nose twisted to the right in that all-too-familiar wind-up to another ear-splitting tantrum. I want to eat now, he wailed. Reed clenched his teeth. His eyes felt like they were bulging out of his head. Rita plugged an index finger into each of her ears and regarded Reed from angry-lidded eyes. Reed gripped the Trailblazer steering wheel hard enough to create deep stitch prints in the palms of his hands. All right, he shouted. All right, I'll hold it. We'll find a restaurant. Just shut up already. Silence fell upon them. Reed's face felt hot. A prickly sensation crawled down the back of his neck, and he shivered a little in spite of his boiling blood. He glanced at Rita, who gaped back at him with her arms knitted tightly beneath her breasts, her eyes wide and hurt. He felt a spark of shame struggling to ignite within his heart and squashed it. She rarely smiled at him anymore anyway. Why should he feel ashamed? Just because she thinks he should. Behind him, he could hear Chase sniffling, but could no longer see him in the rearview mirror, which meant that the boy had ducked his head in that sulking way a child does when a scolding parent finally snaps and says something traumatizing or otherwise life-altering. For that, he supposed he should choose to allow that guilty spark to kindle and burn him a little, but he didn't. An hour later, the Big Burger emblem on one of those blue interstate signs floated into his vision. His need to go immediately became 1,000 times more urgent. He veered onto the exit ramp. Rita, who had been riding with her arms folded, her eyes closed, and her chin resting against her clavicle, suddenly snapped awake. A second blue sign with a second Big Burger icon, this one paired with a thick white arrow that pointed to the left, sped by them. From his peripheral vision, Reed could see Rita glaring at him, her nose twitching. Big Burger? She snapped. Really? He silently vowed not to shout at her. Honey, I really have to go. This is the best we can do. He glanced at her and managed a wry smile. Hey, at least it's not a Snickers joint, right? Rita did not appear to get the joke. She folded her arms on her abdomen and shook her head in that annoying, patronizing way she had. It was a shaming gesture that Chase had learned to imitate at an early age. There you go, folks. There was the main reason the boy had no respect for him. His mother didn't. Right, he answered himself. It came out as a hoarse grunt. He had swung the Trailblazer into a handicapped parking space and leapt out, barely managing to snatch the key from the ignition before his feet hit the pavement. He had not bothered to wait for Rita, whom he could barely hear above the sound of his own running feet as she attempted to wake Chase from another sugar-induced stupor. Damn them, he thought again. Damn them and their bellies. The remaining few drops of his morning beverages splashed with a poit sound into the yellow-tinted water pooled at the bottom of the urinal. Reed sighed. He waited for a few more seconds, squeezing and then relaxing his bladder to ensure that every drop was gone. Blessed relief washed over him. For an instant after, the warm and sensual aroma of Big Burger fries penetrated and overpowered the reek of the men's room. His stomach rumbled in response, reminding him that he hadn't eaten anything since breakfast. This was as good a time as any for a lunch break, he supposed, especially since Chase was going to eat. Then again, a nice big glob of a BB lunch would require an equally hulking portion of carbonated water and flavoring to wash it down, and that would naturally lead to another intense need to release somewhere down the line, probably at a time that was least convenient for Her Majesty and most wine-inducing for His Highness. Maybe I'll skip it then, he mumbled to the restroom wall. Rather be hungry than have to deal with that. From elsewhere in the restroom came a low, drawn-out reply. Deal with what, dude? Reed started. The sudden movement managed to shake out one more drop of urine before he closed everything up and reached for his fly slider, which was now buried in the folds of fabric at the very bottom of the crotch of his dockers. He worked the slider out of the fabric and gave it a quick tug. The zipper would not budge. Shit! A burst of laughter sounded from behind the chocolate-brown wall of the men's room's single stall, which stood just to the right of Reed's urinal. Suddenly, the salted fries aroma was again replaced by the stench of bleach and urinal cakes. Reed gagged and placed a steadying hand against the exterior stall wall. He gave up attempting to zip his fly. Whatever. It's not like anybody's going to notice a balding, pudgy 40-something on a grueling family road trip and say, I think I'll check out his package. And used his free hand to flush the urinal. Whoosh, the voice in the stall echoed playfully. Reed squared his shoulders. He swallowed against the urge to retch and summoned his authoritative voice, the one that used to work on Chase before Rita had managed to strip away any sense of instinctual respect the boy might have had for his father. Who's there? No answer. I said, who's there? Laughter again, then, nobody, dude. Nobody. The last syllable came out in a snake-like hiss. It didn't bounce off the restroom tile so much as it crawled, like the rotten black fingers of a reanimated corpse clawing its way out of chilly October earth. It slithered into Reed's ear, all the way down to the canal, and stabbed at his limbic system with bony, ragged fingernails. Next came the thick clunk of the stall door's lock bolt sliding out of its keeper, followed closely by the creak and groan of door hinges in sore need of a good dousing of WD-40. Finally, a series of slaps beat a leisurely measure against the restroom's ceramic tile floor. It was the sound of a man walking, in cowboy boots perhaps, or maybe a pair of ringtips. Damn his fly, his hunger, his newly emptied bladder, and the accusatory sign on the wall reminding him to use good hygiene and thoroughly wash his hands. Suddenly, all Reed Reese wanted to do was run. The end.
Nice.
Wow. That's awesome
Super good,
because
everyone can relate to that. I was
yes,
thinking,
that's what I was gonna say. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
just
you
when you
already
pee so
feel
hard,
a
it
little,
hurts.
and you also feel a little. At least I feel a little anxious when I'm taking a piss in a public place, like
Yeah.
all the time.
I
so.
try to make sure, nobody's going to be able to be around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in men's rooms, it's particularly anxiety inducing because a lot of them have the urinals there just, out in the open, no dividers between them or anything like that. So
I've been at concerts where I'm waiting for a stall, because I don't want to be next to anyone else.
absolutely.
I remember one time just not really thinking. I was at a movie theater and I took and this is the worst thing, you never do this when there's 3 urinals, you don't take the middle one. And I did, and watched every single person, every single guy that came in went into a fucking closed-off toilet instead of standing next to me.
And Slim never came
piss.
so hard in his life.
But you instinctively, like, if there's a guy pissing,
Yeah.
you try to space yourself.
You'll never be the middle, Slim. Come on.
Absolutely, it's urinal etiquette, man.
Yeah. Isaac, thank you so much. We have to wrap this up, dude. I can't believe it went so fast.
Absolutely.
You are a time twister, Isaac.
Yes, he's a time manipulator.
Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Isaac R. Thorne, and that's Thorne with an E. At my website, isaacthorne.com. Facebook and Instagram is also Isaac R. Thorne.
Awesome.
Thank you for tolerating us for so many years.
Yeah, he's been
hey,
been a
I
champion.
I love it. I listen to you guys every week.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, brother.
Thank
I know.
you.
I always enjoy it when I see that you tweeted that you're listening. Like that always makes me feel like I'm in a urinal. In the middle.
Just anxious and uncomfortable.
No, thank you, Isaac. Thank you for all the support over the years, brother.
Absolutely, no problem.
Have a good one.
Have a
Isaac.
good one and happy Halloween.
Yes.
Happy Halloween.